come out into the street and don't go home, all Egyptians, the 25 to 50 million of you, and say to Hosni Mubarak and his regime, we're not going home until you are gone home, until you leave the country. What will you do? Come out with his guns? How many will you kill? But you're not willing to do that. You're not willing to do that. You're not willing to sacrifice. I'm not saying all of you. Some Egyptians are. But masses of Egyptians are not. That's the problem today. When the Ukrainians decided they don't want the Russian control of their country, they had Orange Revolution. Millions and millions of people in the cold, snowy, rainy, sleety weather stayed in their capital city for days and months until the Russians had gone and left their country. Romanian dictator Ceausescu was overthrown by masses of people because they wanted a change. Allah says, "Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim." Allah surely will not change the fate of those people who do not change the condition within themselves first. So if Egyptians, if the Syrians, if the Lebanese, if the Saudis, if the Muslims of all parts of the world don't come out into the street to overthrow their dictators and despots, they will live with dictators and despots for the rest of their life. That serious, decisive move is needed. But for that, you need the community to be ready and prepared to accept that that's the change they want. I'll finish my answer with a very nice story. Ali, the fourth Caliph of Islam, fourth ruler, he was resting. A man came and knocked on his door. He asked, "What's the matter?" Said Ali. The man said, "Ali, can you please tell me, why do we have so much trouble during your reign? You're the ruler. You can't control anything. Look at you. Look at the society. It's such a mess. Everywhere I turn, turmoil, tribulation, fights, all sorts of trouble. What kind of a ruler are you?" Said the man to Ali. Ali said, "Why?" He said, "Look at Abu Bakr and Umar, the previous rulers, the first two. They were so good, we had no problem with them, and there were no problems in the society." So Ali answered, he said, "Abu Bakr and Umar were ruling people like me, and I'm ruling people like you." That's the answer to that question. As you said, we need revision and revise ourselves, but we need to find imam or imam leaders, the person who has the knowledge of Islam and devoted his life in finding the facts about it. But when we go to them, we get more confused as there are different views on every imam. What should we do? Well, you should not be going to the imam for everything. I did say, fatwa dependency culture is one of the reasons for our downfall. Imams are people of knowledge making. But we all must have a baseline knowledge. There must be a bottom line. We must be knowledgeable ourselves to be able to assess and challenge the imams for what they are saying and what they are doing and what kind of nonsense they are regurgitating. I've seen fatwas of many imams. They make no sense. They make no sense. You don't have to go very far. You just have to Google some of those fatwas on the internet and you will be disgusted with yourself, thinking, what kind of imam would give such a fatwa? So the problem is not the imam. The problem is us. We don't have the base knowledge. We don't have the foundation solid and firm. So our imams can get away with murder without us putting a serious challenge to them or against them. We need to change that. Fatwa dependency culture should change, and we must become a people who are knowledgeable ourselves and engage in discussion and intellectual debates with our imams and scholars so that they know that their expertise would be capitalized, utilized, further, rather than spoon-fed to the masses of the community. This fatwa dependency culture must change. The fourth question that I have here, we appreciate our situation now. What's the way forward? Okay, very good. What's the way forward? Well, I did say certain things earlier on, but let me quickly say 3 or 4 things we can do immediately. A simple question for all of us. Let me start by a question. Somebody is studying medicine. If he is given a textbook, or she is given a textbook, it is expected that they will read the book from beginning to the end. And they will become familiar with it. They will understand the textbook well, and they will be able to apply the textbook, and and the knowledge that they gain in an exam situation when questions are fired at them. And more importantly, if they're going to learn from the textbook, it is expected that when they become doctors, they'll be able to apply their knowledge, otherwise we are all in trouble. Can you imagine doctors who don't understand their textbook? Can you imagine doctors who have no idea what the textbook says? Well, here is the situation. You and I have the Quran. We're supposed to be following it. But most of us have no idea what it says. Because we haven't read it. Even if we read it, we don't understand what it means. Even if we understand the translation, we don't understand the context. We don't understand the history. We don't understand the complexities under which it came down, for what reason it was revealed, and how was it applied and understood by the Prophet and the companions. We have no knowledge. So, Quran today is a book of emotion for all of us. We read beautiful recitation. May Allah bless the brother who read the Quran. It was beautiful, mashallah. I wish, one thing I'm jealous of is somebody who has a very nice voice when they read the Quran. I have a terrible one. My dua for you. But seriously, apart from us, and not you, the brother who read, you read it very well, and I'm sure you understand it very well, but most of us, we don't. It's only a book that we read when we are in need, in problem, for emotional support. But it has very little intellectual support for us. Though it has intellectual base in it, but we don't take from it. That's the first thing. Secondly, what would you say to a person if he or she is given a prescription for a problem? Imagine he or she is suffering from flu, severe flu, and you write as a doctor on a prescription, go and get sulfadine, which is a quite strong dose that you can get. Take 2 tablets 3 times a day. So he brings the prescription home, and he reads sulfadine, 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 sulfadine 99 times on his hand. You would say this man needs to be sent to a mental hospital very soon. Because not only is he unwell physically, he's also lost his mental faculty. I've given him a prescription to go and buy and swallow the tablet, not to recite the name, sulfadine 99 times. Many Muslims do that with the Quran. They just read and recite, they think it will be okay. They not only read, what would you say to a man who takes the prescription, reads sulfadine 20 times and blows on his body all over? You'll think this man is not completely crazy. But many Muslims do that. That's the only thing they do. Though the sunnah of Rasulullah of reading the surah that he gave as a tradition and blowing over you is of course an authentic sunnah. I'm not doubting that. But there are people who only do that. They don't do anything else with the Quran. Or the worst case scenario, in fact it's not even worse, I'll go 2 steps further. A man takes the prescription home, he folds it into small tablets, very small, the finest possible. He finds a gold enclosure, puts it inside, whacks it, and hangs it around his neck. Inside the gold enclosure, the niche itself, is the name of sulfadine. The name of sulfadine is so holy, the name itself is going to cure him, is his belief. Do you know many Muslims who do that? Do you know some Muslims who do that with the Quran? I do. I've seen it myself.
There is a difference between Quran and medicine.
But hang on a second. We'll need to get to that. The third, there is a person who takes the prescription and rubs it on his body. They think it's going to cure them. And some people do this only with the Quran. Quran did not come down for it to be made into a tablet and hang around the neck. In fact, if you go by the tradition of the Prophet said to a man who came to him with an amulet of this nature, take it off. I will not take your bay'ah, I will not take your oath of allegiance while you have that thing hanging around your neck. It is an established understanding of the scholars that wearing the Quranic verses around your neck is not allowed in Islam. It's a very Asian practice. Bangladesh, Pakistan and India has the highest number of people making lots of money giving ta'weez. Take it from me, it's not allowed. Quran is a shifa. Allah says in the Quran, Hudan wa shifa, it's a guidance and a cure. But guidance first, Hudan, guidance first. When you have taken the guidance, your ailment will be cured. Ala bi dhikrillahi tatma'innul qulub. It is by the often remembrance of Allah do you find cure to the diseases of your hearts. We need to understand the Quran, not take it out of context and apply it in a different way. So the first thing first, let's ask us, do we understand the Quran? We don't. Let's go back to it. Let's understand it thoroughly from beginning to the end. Let's read it. Let's take the guidance. Let's